Your life today is not random. Every life is shaped by decisions, but more often, it is shaped by what we allow. The habits we tolerate, the excuses we repeat, the distractions we accept as normal. Over time, these small tolerances quietly become the structure of our lives. And the uncomfortable truth is this: your life today is largely the result of what you have been willing to tolerate. Here's why small tolerances become big outcomes. Very few people wake up one morning and suddenly decide to live below their potential. It usually happens slowly. A missed opportunity here, a delayed decision there. One excuse today becomes a habit tomorrow. And what once felt temporary slowly becomes permanent. Not because you chose it directly, but because you allowed it to continue. Standards are invisible rules you enforce on yourself. Weak standards multiply problems. Strong standards create order. Whatever you allow tends to expand. This is how tolerances shape your future. What standard do you accept? Your standards define your life. Yes, they quietly shape your life. Not the goals you write down, not the motivation you feel in the moment, but the standards you consistently enforce. If you tolerate laziness, laziness becomes normal. If you tolerate distractions, distractions dominate your time. If you tolerate bad habits become normal. If you tolerate low effort becomes normal. If you tolerate disorder and chaos, they become normal. What you accept repeatedly becomes normal. What you accept repeatedly becomes your reality, and your life slowly begins to mirror it. But when you raise your standards, your behavior begins to follow. Because standards act like boundaries. They determine what stays in your life and what must go. Here's why most people stay stuck. Many people sense that something in their life needs to change, but they hesitate to raise their standards. Because raising standards requires discomfort. It requires saying no. It requires letting go of habits that once felt easy. And sometimes it requires becoming a different version of yourself. This is why change often feels difficult. But the longer you tolerate what holds you back, the harder it becomes to move forward. The turning point comes when you decide that certain things are no longer acceptable. Not someday, now. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop accepting distractions that steal your time. You begin protecting your focus, your habits, your direction. Because you finally understand something important. Your future will reflect the standards you enforce today. That's why disciplined people simply reject more things. They reject laziness. They reject distraction. They reject excuses. So if you want a better life, raise what you tolerate, because your standards quietly decide your future. Every habit you allow, every excuse you repeat, every distraction you tolerate slowly shapes the direction of your life. Because standards are not just things you believe, they are things you enforce. Even small standards change your direction. A cleaner environment, better boundaries with your time, higher expectations for your own behavior. Standards slowly build your identity, and identity shapes your behavior. But here is where many people get stuck. They raise their standards, yet they still rely on motivation to follow through. And motivation is unreliable. That's why the people who truly change their lives stop waiting for motivation. They build systems instead. Watch the next video where we break down how to stop waiting for motivation and start building systems that make discipline automatic.